On the red dirt roads of Oklahoma, on a cold November night in 1974, a single headlight went dark. The car had veered off the road, slammed into a concrete culvert, and the driver sat motionless behind the wheel. The autopsy would detect sleeping pills. The police report would read, "Single vehicle accident due to driver fatigue." But the documents that should have been in that car that night, the files, the photographs, the notes inside a thick manila envelope, would never be found. Karen Silkwood was 28 years old, and someone wanted her silenced. Karen Gay Silkwood was born in 1946 in Longview, Texas. Her father Bill was a quiet man who made his living as a house painter. Her mother Merle was a housewife who devoted her entire life to her 3 children. An ordinary American family in an ordinary southern town. An ordinary childhood. Cotton fields, church picnics, summer evenings sitting on porches watching the stars. Karen had a curious mind from an early age. In high school, she was drawn to chemistry classes, spending hours in the laboratory. When she was accepted to Lamar University on scholarship, her family was proud. But in the hot days of Texas, dreams could fade quickly. Financial difficulties forced Karen to leave college early. At 20, she married Bill Meadows. Within a year, they had 3 children: Beverly, Michael, and Dawn. She wanted to build an ordinary family, live an ordinary life. But some people are not destined for the ordinary. The marriage crumbled. Violent arguments began. And eventually Karen left. When she was forced to give up custody of her children to her ex-husband during the divorce, something inside her broke. That broken piece never fully healed. In 1972, she moved to Crescent, Oklahoma. What she left behind weighed heavy on her shoulders. A failed marriage, children far away, an unfinished education. But Karen was not one to give up. When she found work at the Kerr-McGee Corporation's Cimarron fuel fabrication site, it would be a new beginning. The facility was a critical part of America's nuclear energy program. Here, plutonium fuel rods were manufactured for nuclear reactors. Plutonium, one of the most dangerous elements in the periodic table. The heart of the atomic bomb. Karen began working as a technician in the metallography laboratory. The pay was decent. The quiet of small-town life comforted her for a while. In the first months, everything seemed normal. She went to her shift in the mornings, returned to her small apartment in the evenings, spent weekends with friends. Like the other workers at the facility, she wore her radiation monitoring devices, put on her protective equipment, followed the procedures. The company said safety was at the highest level. Inspections were conducted regularly. Nothing was cause for concern. Or so it seemed. In early 1974, Karen joined the Oil, Chemical and Atomic Workers Union. This decision would change her life forever. She was quickly elected union representative. Her intelligence, courage, and passion for workers' rights made her a natural leader. This new role gave her the opportunity to see the facility's inner workings. And what she saw began to deeply disturb her. The first thing she noticed was the missing plutonium. According to company records, certain amounts of plutonium were marked as unaccountable. It was a bureaucratic term, cold and technical. But the truth behind it was terrifying. No one knew where the nuclear material had gone. Plutonium, even at microgram levels, could cause cancer when lodged in the lungs. And pounds of plutonium were missing. Where? With whom? For what purpose? The second thing she noticed was that safety procedures were being systematically ignored. Workers were being made to work without adequate protective equipment. When glove supplies ran out, supervisors said to continue without gloves. Contamination measurements were not being done properly. Devices were broken or their settings had been deliberately lowered. She even discovered that some quality control X-ray films were fake. Cracks in the fuel rods were being retouched to hide them. These rods would be sent to nuclear power plants. One crack meant one leak meant one disaster. Perhaps in the middle of an American city, Karen began documenting everything. After night shifts, with tired eyes, she took notes at her kitchen table. She took photographs of contaminated areas, secretly, afraid of being watched. She obtained copies of falsified quality control reports. These documents, neatly placed inside manila folders, became an ever-thickening file. Each night, it grew a little thicker. Each night, Karen waded deeper into dangerous waters. But she was not careful. Or perhaps being careful was not enough. Because someone was watching her. In July 1974, she went to Washington. She met with union leadership and officials from the Atomic Energy Commission. She told them about the safety violations at the Kerr-McGee facility. For hours. In detail. Supported by the documents she had. The missing plutonium. The fake reports. The workers in danger. The officials took notes. They listened with serious faces. They thanked her. They promised an investigation. Karen returned with hope. Nothing happened. Days passed. Weeks passed. The phones did not ring. Letters did not come. No investigation was launched. When Karen returned to Oklahoma, she sensed that something had changed at the facility. There was a cold distance in the supervisor's eyes. Some of her co-workers avoided talking to her. She heard whispers in the locker room. Troublemaker, they said. Enemy of the company. But Karen did not stop. She could not stop. In September, she contacted New York Times reporter David Burnham. She told him she would give him her documents. She would bring the story to public attention. Burnham was interested. A meeting date was set. November 13, 1974. 1 week before that date, Karen's life turned into a nightmare. The morning of November 5, 1974, began cold and foggy in Oklahoma. When Karen arrived for her shift as usual, she went through the routine contamination screening. When the monitor went wild, the expression on the technician's face said everything. The result was shocking. Karen's body showed 400 times the normal level of plutonium. This level was far above the threshold for acute radiation poisoning. Her cells, her tissues, her bones, all were under bombardment from alpha particles. Company officials acted immediately. Karen's small apartment in Crescent was scanned by the health physics team. Traces of plutonium were found in the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom, on the shower head, on the countertops, on the door handles. Especially high levels of contamination were found in the cheese and bologna sandwiches in the refrigerator. Karen had eaten these foods. With every bite, she had swallowed death. The official explanation came quickly. Karen had contaminated herself through her own carelessness. Perhaps she had done it deliberately to smear the company. She was a saboteur, an unstable woman, a troublemaker with paranoid tendencies. Karen believed something else. And this belief came with fear. Someone had poisoned her. Someone had entered her home, had contaminated her food with plutonium, had taken the most dangerous substance from the facility, carried it to her home, opened the refrigerator, sprinkled it on her sandwiches, and closed the door behind them as they left. To silence her, to intimidate her, or to kill her slowly, painfully, she was taken to Los Alamos National Laboratory. She underwent comprehensive tests. Full body counts were performed. Samples were analyzed. The results were dark. Plutonium had accumulated in her lungs, her bones, her liver. The radioactive time bomb was now inside her. The doctors could not say anything definitive, but the statistics were merciless. The long-term consequences of this level of exposure were usually cancer and early death. Did not stop collecting documents even during the tests. The fear of death had not intimidated her. On the contrary, it had made her more determined. After returning from Los Alamos, She made one final move to complete her file. What she needed was definitive proof of the quality control fraud. The originals of the retouched X-ray films. The ultimate evidence that would prove the company's guilt. How she obtained these, no one knows exactly. But on the evening of November 13, 1974, when she left a union meeting in Oklahoma City, she had a thick manila envelope with her. She had told her friends it contained documents that would bring down the company. Around 7 p.m., she got into her car. She set out to meet journalist David Burnham. A room had been booked at the Holiday Inn. Burnham and union official Steve Wodka were waiting for her. Karen never arrived. The one who found her was a truck driver coming from behind. It was around 7:30 p.m. The white Honda Civic had embedded itself in a concrete culvert on the side of Highway 74. The engine was still running. The headlights were on. Karen sat motionless behind the wheel. She was 28 years old. The police report was brief and concise. The driver may have been fatigued or under the influence of medication, veered off the road, hit the culvert. Single vehicle traffic accident. Case closed. The autopsy detected 0.35 milligrams of methaqualone in her blood, a type of sleeping pill. This dose was high enough to cause severe drowsiness, but some things did not add up. There were dents on the rear bumper and left rear fender of the car, as if another vehicle had pushed from behind. A traffic accident expert said these marks could indicate that Karen's car had been forced off the road. And more importantly, there was no manila envelope. No files in the car. No documents. No photographs. The evidence that should have been with Karen had vanished into thin air. Union lawyers demanded an independent investigation. Private detectives were hired. The vehicle was re-examined by forensic experts. Metal fragments were found that had penetrated the rear bumper. They could have broken off from another vehicle's bumper. But that vehicle was never found. Neither was the fate of the manila envelope ever determined. Official authorities did not open a murder investigation. Oklahoma police closed the file. The FBI conducted a brief review and concluded there was insufficient evidence. Karen Silkwood's family did not settle for this. In 1976, her father Bill Silkwood filed a lawsuit against the Kerr-McGee Corporation. The claim was simple. The company had violated its duty to ensure the safety of its employees. Karen's contamination with plutonium was a direct result of the company's negligence. The trial lasted 3 years. Kerr-McGee hired the most expensive teams of lawyers money could buy. They spent millions in legal fees alone. They created obstacles at every step. They questioned every document. They tried to wear down every witness. They attacked Karen's character relentlessly. They claimed Karen was unstable, that she showed paranoid tendencies, that she may have deliberately contaminated herself, but the jury did not believe them. On May 10, 1979, the verdict was announced in federal court in Oklahoma City. Kerr-McGee was found responsible for Karen Silkwood's plutonium contamination. The company was ordered to pay the Silkwood family $10.5 million in damages. $10 million of that was punitive damages. This was the first successful damages case against a nuclear facility in American history. Kerr-McGee appealed. After years of legal battle, in 1986 the parties reached a settlement of $1.38 million. The company never admitted guilt. But the Cimarron facility was closed in 1975, just a few months after Karen's death. The safety violations she had documented were confirmed by the Atomic Energy Commission. The missing plutonium was real. The fake quality control reports were real. Karen had been right. Karen Silkwood's grave is in Danville Cemetery in Kilgore, Texas. A simple headstone. A simple name. A simple date. Those who visit her final resting place leave flowers, sometimes a handwritten note. 10 years after her death, Hollywood brought her story to the silver screen. Meryl Streep portrayed Karen in an Oscar-nominated performance. The film took its name from her. Silkwood. Millions came to know her, learned her story, felt the outrage, but a murder investigation was never opened. The documents inside the manila envelope were never found. Whoever forced her car off the road, if anyone did, was never caught. Karen Silkwood's real killer, if there was a killer, was never brought to trial. The company never explained how plutonium got into Karen's home. They claimed Karen had done it to herself. But why would a person poison herself, her family, her future generations? The answer to this question was never given. What remains is this. A woman tried to expose the dirty secrets of a powerful corporation. She was threatened. She was poisoned. And then she died. Coincidence? Perhaps. Assassination? Perhaps. The only thing certain is that Karen Silkwood told the truth. And she paid for it with her life. On the red dirt roads of Oklahoma, 50 years ago, a woman followed what she knew to be right. She sacrificed her own safety, her own health, her own future. There were those who would not listen to her, those who would not believe her, those who wanted to silence her. But her voice still echoes. Every time a nuclear facility worker puts on protective equipment, Karen is there. Every time a corporate executive reviews safety protocols, Karen is there. Every time a journalist answers a whistleblower's call, Karen is there. Because some voices cannot be silenced even by death. And the truth, in the end, always finds its way.